Here's another great moment from The Journey. Weekday mornings on UCB's Vision Radio Network. Find out more at vision.org.au.
Joining us in the studio is Grant Norsworthy, well known for being a part of the Paul Coleman Trio. He's also been a part of Sonic Flood, and he's a preacher and a worship leader and a singer-songwriter in his own right. It's great to have you here. How are you, mate?
Good, Matt. Oh, man. Oh, that was quite an introduction. I feel sort of overwhelmed by my own press release or something.
He actually forgot to say, experienced and qualified teacher.
Oh, yeah, I'm a teacher.
Originally.
I'm actually a husband and a father.
Yes.
Above all those things.
Good.
Man for saying that.
It's kind of weird to hear myself described like that, because they may not be all the terms that I would use. But Matt and Karen, it's great to be with you guys.
Thanks for coming along today, mate. We have been admirers of your music for many years, and I've got your brand new CD in my hot little hands here, Resident Alien. It's not really brand new, it's been out for a while, but it's got some great music on it, hasn't it?
I like your choice in music there. You've got great taste, haven't you, Matt?
Absolutely. I've played the song My Declaration on the radio a number of times.
Oh, good.
And I declare it whenever the song's, I'm like, yeah, that is my declaration too. That is good.
Oh, that's great, mate.
Firstly, tell us a bit about that song, My Declaration. What's the heart behind it? How did that all come about?
Yeah, well, I guess for many years of my life growing up, and I was sort of raised in pretty straight up and down conservative sort of Christian circles, but I got these two voices confused in my life, the voice of condemnation and the voice of conviction. I got them confused, and I thought they were kind of one voice, in fact. And I thought sometimes God was speaking to me, communicating with me in a way that made me feel really guilty and like hiding from him, like running away, and running away from engagement with him and engagement with people that might be able to help me out. Feeling like I've just got to do this on my own. He's got to be so disgusted with me or something like that, But I've realised in later years that he doesn't speak with that voice ever. That's the other guy. You know what I mean?
The enemy.
Yeah, not condemnation, but God often speaks with a voice of conviction, I've found. And the currency of conviction is like being inspired to make changes and live better and do things that have me engage more deeply with God and with his community of people. So yeah, my declaration is that I've been shown this amazing grace that we sing about. I don't deserve it. And I'm realising it's just this celebration of the freedom found in connecting with the voice of conviction rather than the voice of condemnation.
Very good. It's a great song and a great album as well. Certainly love seeing all the stuff that you're pumping out.
Grant, you are a Dove Award winner. You've also been a Grammy nominee musician, but
all a long time ago, and part of the Paul Coleman Trio. And you know what Grammy nominated really means, Karen?
What?
Means you lost.
Oh,
yeah.
You see it that way?
Yeah, no, it's the false humility of an Australian. That's what we say. We can't, tall poppy syndrome from this country. Yeah, I did that a while back, but what are we doing now?
And you call yourself a speaker, really, who sings songs. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, most of my runs on the board in my past was the bass player in bands like the Paul Coleman Trio or Sonic Flood, and I did a lot of other stuff like that. And I love playing bass. It's a lot of fun, but turns out that I want to communicate more, and I think God wants to communicate more through me than can be contained by the bass notes. So for the last 5 years or so, I've been saying Grant Norsworthy, word and song, and that's my attempt to describe that I'm a speaker, a teacher even, a storyteller. And to do that, I love to wrap songs around it. So I'm a speaker who sings a few songs, not a singer who talks too much.
And it's a great foundational description that really does specify what you're doing. So in Queensland right now, last night, where were you?
I was out in Toowoomba at Christ Life Presbyterian. We had a wonderful training workshop for church musicians and singers and technicians. Came along and I guess explored the beauty and the potential of music as a means to help us connect as a church body and sing praises to God, to honour him, but also to describe that worship needs to go beyond the singing. Worship of God, the showing the worth of God. That's what the word means. It needs to go beyond the singing. Yeah.
And tonight you're in Toowoomba again doing a B1 event. B1 with Grant Norsworthy.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's nothing to do with bananas and pajamas. It's just a reference to John 17:21, where Jesus prays so that his disciples can hear him, which is fascinating to me. Guys, I want you to hear this. Heavenly Father, I pray that they would be one. Get it? Be one as you and I are one. And so really, I don't think of what I do as being concerts anymore, but we're gathering together. There's going to be a lot of music, songs for people to sing along with, songs for people to listen to, and some stories, a few laughs, and maybe some deeper, thoughtful stuff as well. And it's a free event, 7 p.m. at Christ Life in Toowoomba. The hope is that people of all different denominations and tastes of the way we sing songs in church, or the just different ages, different ethnicities, different cultural backgrounds. We would come together using Christ Life's building as a venue. Just to get together, turn the volume down on what sort of makes us feel like we need to meet in different buildings, in different times, in different places, in different ways, and turn the volume up on Jesus who unifies us. That's the whole idea.
A real connection.
That's it.
In the gathering.
The gathering. In fact, I think I might do that Paul Coleman Trio song, The Gathering, tonight.
Perfect.
I might, yeah.
With regard to tomorrow, you're doing a workshop back in Brisbane at Springwood, I believe?
Yeah. So I'm over here from Nashville, Tennessee, where I live, doing whatever I can to serve the church. And one of the ways I feel like I can do that, having been a professional musician / speaker for so many years, is I feel like I've got some good stuff to offer to church musicians, to singers and technicians, just to help us realise the importance of what we're doing, this idea of sacred music, to encourage the believers to connect more deeply with God and to connect with each other. I think we're kind of scratching the surface. And in fact, there might be people listening right now who are thinking, it really just feels like the church music we do is kind of thrown together. Last minute, it's quite a low priority, but I think it should be more important than that. Or maybe you really think that the music your church groups are using is top notch. It's really fantastic. Well, are we turning it into a bit of a rock show for ourselves and turning it into a concert? I don't know. I'm not here to cast those judgments, but I am here to hopefully help. From someone who's been around music, and especially church music, and hopefully using music in a way to honour God as much as possible. I'd love to share some thoughts. So 1:30, another free event. Anyone who would like to come on, what's it called? Springwood?
Springwood Church of Christ.
Springwood Church of Christ. It's a great venue with a great sound system, and we're going to have an example band there to help us understand, well, what's a sound check? How do we play better? What sort of part should I be playing on my bass guitar or my keyboard or my drums? Or, we're going to talk about that, and it's going to be a lot of question answer. I think a really valuable thing for anyone who's even interested in what we do with music within the church.
So again, key foundations. Great input, great encouragement.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going out with a bang. You're actually at Matt's Church New Hope on Sunday. Yes.
Yeah. So Springwood Church of Christ for
New
them.
Hope in the evening.
Yeah, Matt's in the evening. Yeah, it's going to be great. And then on Monday, I fly home to Nashville, Tennessee and see my wife and boys.
Brooke's looking forward to seeing you.
I hope so.
Max and Marcus. Yeah.
No, we're very much looking forward to getting back together again.
And what about your faith journey? Did you have an early conversion experience, or were you always just raised in it? Or
well, I was definitely raised in that whole sort of church Christian environment sort of thing, sort of attending church meetings every Sunday and Sunday night usually, and my mum and dad very involved there. I don't know when the switch was thrown, or even if it is a switch. Maybe it is for some people, but I do remember a very distinct situation. I think I was about 12 at a summer camp, and a guy was talking about Jesus, and something really connected, and it was really awkward but wonderful at the same time, because I found myself just bawling my eyes out, and there was all my mates in the room, and it felt really weird. But I prayed a prayer then, and I found it really easy to do good things after that. Absolutely a breeze, just to do good stuff and never do bad stuff. That's not how that lasted for about 15 minutes, or maybe it was 2 days. I don't know. But I also remember praying a prayer like that with my mum when I was 4. So I remember thinking, this will make her happy. But
I'll do this for Mum.
But I remember it, I remember that moment. So I don't know. And then there's actually been very, very significant sort of things that have happened to me since then. So that's probably a long-winded way to say I don't know. But there's been a sense of wanting to engage with God and be a person who's hopefully part of God's kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Some sense of that for a very long time.
And what about through your teenage years? Did you end up, in youth ministry or going to, were you part of an active youth group? Was that a big part of your lifestyle?
Yeah, for sure. Saturday night, hanging out with all the crew, doing stuff. That was fun.
And that was Melbourne?
Yeah, Melbourne, and doing some leadership stuff as well. Yeah, for sure.
And then what about your career? What did you do after you finished school? What did you get into first?
I didn't know what I wanted to do after I finished high school, and I didn't do terribly well in high school, to be honest. Straight C's or something like that.
But you still became a teacher.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing. I don't know what I'm going to do. At the end of high school, I picked up the bass guitar. I started playing, going, I love this. And music had always deeply connected with me. Not just words of songs, but just the way things sound, the way things make me move and feel when I hear the right beat or the right tone of an instrument. There's been something there that I thought everyone had, but maybe not.
So did you teach music? Yeah,
well, I worked in a bank for a few years, worked out that I really wanted to be a musician and started down that path and realised that, especially when you're in Australia, being a musician is a it's a long shot. It's very difficult, especially if you want to make the songs about God or songs that hopefully serve the church in some way. So I got my backup plan together, which was primary school teaching, and it was a music major. So yeah, and then I got a couple of years of teaching fourth grade, just sort of all part of the backup plan, you know. And then I took some time off to try and be a musician and never went back. But turns out I'm a teacher after all. That's kind of what I'm doing now.
Yeah, once a teacher,
I love teaching. I love working in the bank. You know, it was all good. You know, it's all part of the journey.
After the teaching, when you said you got into being a musician, was that with PC3 or did you do something else before that?
I was playing in bar and club bands.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, did a lot of that. Cover bands mainly. Rocket and Steelers, Supernova.
Don't you love those names of bands?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was an important part of my musical training. I think, you know, I don't suggest it as a path for everyone, because I was a follower of Jesus during those times, and it was a pretty dark place in some ways. But you know what? The church can be a dark place in some ways too.
Oh, I think it's an important part of training for anyone in ministry. When I was doing Bible college, I was a DJ in pubs and clubs.
Oh, there you go.
So I'm playing songs, and people are kind of going, play some Nirvana, play some Cold Chisel. You know what it's like in the pubs. And then I'd slip in a bit of Third Day, you know, a bit of PC3, a bit of, you know, a bit of Christian music here and there. They'd all sing along to it, you know.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
You learn a lot in those places, don't you?
You sure do. But I learned this too, you know. I learned about people and about life, a lot of good stuff. And, you know, I never went for the whole, I would say I never obviously on the outside ran away from God and went into the drink and the, you know, all the things that are on offer in that scene. I didn't do it. I guess my sin nature expressed itself in ways that were a lot more hidden than that. I could sort of carry on the image. But I had no problem at all speaking to people about God, about Jesus, about stuff. You know, I had wonderful conversations. But you know what I found? I didn't really want to invite people along to quote-unquote church. I felt like I didn't know where to connect them with a community of people that were really going to invite them in and love them. You know, I'm sorry to have to say that, but my experience of church at that time was, I just feel like this is really weird. In fact, I didn't resonate very deeply with the term Christian at all. Absolutely no problem thinking that I was a person of the way, or, you know, as using scriptural terms, a person of the way, or a follower of Jesus, a disciple of Christ. But, you know, this term Christian seemed to bring a lot of confusion. I couldn't say, yes, I'm a Christian in the bar scene, because people were like, oh, right. And that means, you know, the person with the fish sticker who gave them the finger when they were driving.
Yeah,
you know?
stereotypes. Instantly.
Or it means that Sunday school teacher that messed up this, or it means all this hypocrisy. It means all this judgment. And I didn't feel like Jesus spoke to me like that. You know, I didn't feel like that was what I wanted to introduce them to. So I would say, you know, if someone said, are you a Christian? Because they could tell I was carrying myself differently. You know, people would even say, hey, I've heard you're the guy that's Christian in this band. And I'd say, I don't mean to be smart or anything like that, but it depends what you mean. What do you mean by that? Oh, I don't know. You go to church? Well, yeah, I do. Yeah. But that doesn't make someone a Christian. Anyone can go to a meeting on a Sunday or any other time. Well, you read the Bible? Yeah, I read the Bible, but that doesn't make anyone a Christian, I don't think. You try to be a good person. You believe in God. You know, all these questions would come up, and then eventually be like, well, what is it then? Then I'd have a chance to speak about my Saviour. You know what
I love about that they noticed it in your life and they heard about it before you told them. Because, you know, a lot of people, we try and tell people first, oh, I'm a Christian, let me tell you, you know. But
that doesn't work. That doesn't work, man.
That's right. Let them see it in your life first. And then you've got a bit of cred when you're sharing it with them, don't you? You know, you've got a bit of a, you know, they've already seen something different, and it's almost like they're saying, I'm actually curious about what you got. What is it? What's different about you?
That's how it's supposed to be, but that's not anything of my life. I think what that is Jesus himself attracting someone to himself. And I have to get out of the way for that to happen. Yeah. Because I look back at the way my life was actually being lived at that time, and, you know, I'd be surprised if much Jesus was actually seeping through because of the hidden sort of stuff in my heart, in my life. But I think this flight that I had just the other day, coming up from Newcastle to Brisbane, I had the most amazing conversation with a woman beside me on the flight. Turns out, again, she's got huge problems with Christianity. But I was able to speak to her about Jesus. And she's a person who is really into yoga and really into being out in nature and connecting with creation in its beauty. And she senses that there's a bigger something, bigger than herself. And at that point, a lot of Christians, you know, a lot of quote-unquote Christians would say, oh, well, you've got that wrong. What you need to do is ... But instead, I'm able to find common ground with her and go, yeah, I think there's more too. She said, well, I'm an agnostic. And I say, well, you know what? I have a faith in God And faith is different to I know, so kind of I'm agnostic too, you know. And we had this amazing conversation. At the end of it, I'm able to say to her, hey, next time you're doing yoga and you feel the closest to that big something, or next time you're out on your kayak, why don't you ask the big something to talk to you?
Mm.
And I don't know what will happen there, but I just feel totally free to have that sort of conversation because I'm not promoting a particular way of doing religion. I've just met this Jesus who wants to know us. You know, he knows us, but he wants us to know him and be in that sort of connection with him. And it's so much better to speak about that and to introduce people to him than to say, look, I'm a Christian, I've got the answers. You're wrong about these things. Let me tell you how you're wrong. Because that's how we come across a lot of the time. And it's so sad, you know. But rather than that, it was like, I like to carry myself like this or try to. I don't know the answers, but I'm following the one who I at least believe is the answer. You know, I don't have the truth, but I'm following someone who defines himself as the truth, the way, the life. And she loved it. We had a great connection.
Mm.
Perfect opportunity.
Yes. And, you know, it wouldn't happen if I felt like I had my agenda to lump onto her, you know.
I'm interested to know about your family. Where did you meet your wife? Tell us about your kids and how have they been with your whole personal journey?
Oh, man. Well, they're the best part of me.
Mm-hmm.
My family, they're in Nashville, Tennessee right now, which is where I live. And I met my wife, Brooke, in a little town called Cooma in New South Wales at an event that's not there anymore, sadly, called the Cooma Gospel Music Festival.
Wow.
She was over from New Zealand with a few church friends, and I was there with PC3. And it was one of those instant tidal waves of simultaneous, thankfully, emotion and what's going on here? This is crazy. What country do you live in? Wow.
I actually heard you on a YouTube clip the other day saying, I'm married to a Kiwi, which for those in America, it's like marrying a Canadian.
Yeah.
I thought, ooh,
True story.
You've just offended 4 countries in one.
No. If you say it right, they all think you're on their side.
Oh, okay.
But it could offend, you know, everyone thinks you're ganging up on one of those 4, but no one knows which one. That's the beauty of that statement.
That's good. That's very clever, yeah.
So, Grant, where were you in your musical journey when you met Brooke?
Well, PC3 were taking off and, you know, but we were still in Australia, but we were about 1 year away from, you know, signing an international recording contract and relocating to Nashville, Tennessee. So Brooke and I, no, it was a bit longer than a year. Anyway, I'm not really great with dates. I'm great with other stuff. But
that's okay.
Notes and
apparently
music.
You were good with dates because you married her.
Yeah, that worked well, didn't it? But we had our whole courtship and engagement was long distance. She was in New Zealand, I was in Australia. And honestly, kids, listen to me. Physical proximity can sometimes be a distraction. To actually be in the same room with someone, the same car, the same movie theater, you know, like it can really mess you up as far as learning how to communicate and you know, share what's like really in your heart and stuff like that. So we learned to talk on the phone really well. We learned to communicate long distance. And sure, there were a few trips forwards and backwards, but the first time I was able to put eyes on Brooke, not knowing, you know, that it's just a few days before she's leaving or I'm leaving. It was 4 days before our wedding.
Wow, serious
Yeah.
in stereo, Matt Prater.
That is amazing.
Yeah, we got married, and then it was like this: had a little tiny honeymoon, a little bit of time with family either side of the Tasman Sea, and then it was like, okay, we're going into a plane, and you're getting off in Nashville, and you're going to be put on a tour bus with Paul Coleman Trio and 9 other people that you don't know. Would you please sell our merchandise? And then we had 2 years of not having our own home. You know, we were in tour buses, hotel rooms, or house minding someone's spare room for 2 years.
Host families?
Stuff like that, yeah. But the family's got bigger since then. We have a house now too, which is nice.
Yeah, good.
And how many kids?
Two boys.
2 boys? How old are they?
Max is 6, and Marcus is 9 months, nearly 10 months.
Congratulations.
And Marcus came to our family by adoption, and there's an amazing story about that.
Tell us the story. We'd love to hear that story, yeah.
Would you like to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, I realise that this is a pretty sensitive subject for a lot of people. You know, this idea of people wanting to have a family, wanting to have kids, and the struggles that sometimes surround that. You can't. There seems to be something not right. Something's blocking it. Something medical, probably. You know. And so, hey, if you're listening right now and this is a struggle for you, because I know that for many years my wife would hear anything about this topic and it would just cut her up. You know, I was a bit less sensitive to it. But we had Max 6 years ago, our DNA reproduced, and that was wonderful. And then we thought, we really feel like there's supposed to be more people in our family. And it wasn't just we want another baby. It was like we sense that God's love is more present in our family with Max arriving. And when you're a parent, when a baby arrives, a peeling of your selfishness has to be removed to care for this other child, this new person that's in the family. And, I learned a lot more about how God loves me when I've loved Max. And we were like, we really feel like God is leading us to have at least one, maybe two more people in our family. So let's head that way. And we expected it to happen in the usual way, if I can put it that way. So our plan A, what we wanted was to get pregnant again and have another baby, within a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. Anyway, 5 years later, when nothing's happening, and we're beginning to invite a very invasive, cold, expensive medical machine in between my wife and me to try and fill certain gaps. And it's, syringes and cubicles and feeling like this is not like the relationship. And I please understand, if you're in the process now of going down that medical road, I'm not casting any sort of judgment or aspersion. I'm not even commenting about your situation. I'm just telling my story. We really felt like there's actually a lot of selfish motivation in us wanting to see our DNA reproduced again. If the objective is just to have another person in our family that we can love as our own and connect with and have that extra love in our family, then why must we insist on seeing our DNA reproduced when there are so many kids without parents, when there are so many orphans who need help by having a loving family? So we started researching that, and for me the keys were things that I found in the Bible about adoption. And I've been standing on stage for years talking about James 1:27 that says, pure and perfect worship in the sight of God is to care for orphans and widows in their trouble and remain uncorrupted by the world. And then I remembered that over and over again the Apostle Paul says brothers when he's talking to the Romans or talking to the Ephesians. He's talking to people who aren't Jews. And every time he says brothers, he's saying, I'm inviting you into the family, God's people. I'm an heir to everything along with Christ. I'm a brother of Jesus. God has adopted me to be in his family despite my wretchedness. And things like that just started popping up to me as like, you know what? For us to adopt a child is not plan B. This is the plan A, and we missed it until now. So God, who is so loving and redeems any situation, no matter how broken it seems to us, no matter how wretched it seems to us, he just birthed in us a new plan A. And he changed our I wants into more like his I wants. His I wants for our family, for Marcus, for all of us, and I think for the world. This idea of adopting is a beautiful one. And when we got a call saying there's a baby in Wichita, Kansas, born 7 weeks premature, he's in bad shape. He's been in hospital for a month. He's had a hemorrhage in his brain. He's got a hole in his heart. He's got a malformation in his larynx. He stops breathing from time to time, and every now and again his heart stops beating. He's got all wires all over him in a big box that lets off an alarm.
Wow.
Do you want to have your name submitted as potential parents for this child? Now, that's not the sort of baby I would want in myself. Like my I want, let someone else take care of that one. But God changed us and said, yes, I want what God wants. So I want to have my name submitted along with my wife, Brooke, to take Marcus. And we got chosen. So we drove to Wichita, met his birth mother, beautiful, courageous woman who has had a life that I don't comprehend. But she found herself with no support from family, no man in her life, 3 other kids in a single bedroom apartment with this baby that was so sick and needed constant attention. And I will forever admire her for the courageous choice she made. She could have dealt with that pregnancy other ways, but she didn't. And so we met her, we met Marcus, did some paperwork, and He's in our family. And he's great now. He's better. He's in great shape. He's a thriving, chunky little guy who laughs a lot, you know.
And he's a Norsworthy.
And get this. My parents are his grandparents. And my Australian heritage is his Australian heritage. And I love him every bit as much as I love Max. I've learnt more about God through that.
Oh, God bless you. It was a brave move. And for Marcus and your family as well?
Not if God's in control. It's not that brave, you know, but yeah, it is. Thank you.
Well, Grant, it is an amazing story, and thank you for opening your heart and sharing that with us today. You thought you were just coming here to talk about, you know, a few songs you'd written and a bit of your music career, but you've opened up your heart and you've shared what God's been doing in your life. And I just wanted to say you're a great man of God. You're a great storyteller. You're a great songwriter, and you're a great brother in the Lord. You've inspired us today.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Karen.
And, of course, if people want to find out more, the website is grantnorsworthy.com.
Like what you've just heard? There's more great podcasts, or you can listen to us live at vision.org.au. And remember, Vision is listener supported. Your donation of any amount will help us continue connecting faith to life. Learn more or donate today at vision.org.au.